How's it going, guys? My name is BobaTalks and welcome to my Westworld Season 2, Episode 2, Top 10 Key Moments. This is where I discuss, well, my favorite moments, but some of the most obvious key moments in the episode. I try and analyze them to the best of my ability, but also why I love them. And I would also love to know your favorite moments in the comments below. Now, my first top key moments of Episode 1, I talked about the timelines. Now, if you watch Westworld, you should know about the timelines, but in this episode, there are a few more timelines introduced, and this is one of the most fascinating things about the show for me. But at the moment, I believe there are around 2 timelines in the present. So one where we have Bernard, killing all the hosts in the water, and I believe that is towards the finale. But then we also have a couple of weeks before that where we see Dolores revolting and a lot of the stuff going on in the present day, if you will, in the episode. So then, and I think it is we have William in before season 1 and with that Logan scene, and then we have William post season 1 in the past as well. So a lot of stuff going on in this episode, guys, but I'm going to stop going on now and talk about the top 10 key moments of Westworld Season 2, Episode 2. So number 1 is definitely the beginning with Arnold. Before Delos invested in the park, before Arnold's son Charlie died, this scene was good. I like how Westworld have opened each scene with, I mean, it's only been 2 episodes, but each scene with, 30 years ago or so, before the park was actually, where we saw it in season 1 with William and everyone, we see Arnold with Dolores. One of the coolest things about this is obviously seeing a young Dolores in the real world. I mean, and when I say young, a very, very young Dolores, because we even actually get a young Ford. And what we all know, Dolores is Arnold's, baby, basically. His second baby apart from his own son, who, unfortunately passes away. Now, another aspect I really like to this is just seeing the world. It's weird. It's kind of slightly futuristic, but not mega far ahead. But also when we see the real world, we see people still on bicycles. We see cars are kind of a little bit more curvier, but also it's not mega far ahead. Arnold also talks about moving his family to this new place he shows Dolores when they're walking around the city, which is also closer to Westworld itself. They go on to talk about a room for his son Charlie and how, Dolores is excited to meet Charlie and, vice versa, Charlie to meet Dolores. And Arnold also mentions how they both have a lot in common. Now, what we do know from season 1 is Dolores is kind of, I mean, especially after Charlie passes, he tries to see Charlie through Dolores almost. And we can see the beginnings of that in this scene where he even says how they both have a lot in common and how they see it so clearly, the beauty of it, the possibility of it. So many people have stopped seeing it altogether, the wonder. And what I think he means by that is not only the world, but the possibility of the world and the beauty of the world, to the fact where Robert and Arnold here have made Westworld, and what Arnold has originally created it for, just like what he, a child, his son sees, and Dolores sees, is the beauty of the world. You don't, when you get older, you kind of take things for granted, don't you? And I feel like that is what Arnold was talking about in this scene. The key words being in this episode, have you ever seen anything so full of splendor? Obviously, a child can see that with the world, and Dolores can see that with the world because, she's so brand new. Now, number 2 for me is definitely Teddy, gets shown his history and the revolt continues. I used to see the beauty in the world, but now I see the truth, Dolores says. And I love that as well. Obviously, she's referencing what we just spoke about, how she was almost brand new, saw the beauty in the world. But now with what we were just talking about as well with Arnold's creation, Westworld was meant to be something people saw as beautiful again, something people could almost just not really see in the real world. But now Dolores can now just see the ugliness. Just like our last episode, one of my most favorite things and my most favorite thing about the premise of this season is, the hosts kind of taking back their lives and their kind of rights, if that makes sense. I know they're robots, but that's the whole kind of point of this. And one of the key lines from Dolores saying, you thought you could do what you wanted with us because no one would judge you. Well, no one is here to judge you for what we will do to you. Now, yes, I know Dolores is getting pretty dark. I'm wondering if that's going to start to fade, the Wyatt, a whole aspect to it. Even though it is kind of justice, it is still very dark. She's kind of being just as bad as them. But because this leads me to one of my main points of number 2, Teddy gets shown his history. Dolores asked one of the techs to show Teddy his history because he was just kind of, the penny was dropping for him, like what was going on here. And then all of a sudden he got very mad. Like, he obviously showing yourself that you died a bunch of times and you can't remember it, and now you're just realizing all of this. He goes mad. I love that moment. It was a great breakthrough for Teddy, and he was just screaming at the tech guy saying, why do you do this? And his only answer, and this is just such the key thing for this season for all the hosts is just for fun. Dolores learned a couple of key things here, you know, in terms of how many people are going to come for the rebelling hosts. And one of the texts went on to say how, you know, through protocol, they have to secure sector by sector, and around 600 to 800 people will be after them. So Dolores needs allies to stand up against, you know, all the people who will be trying to stop the rebellion. And we get a good tease of that later on in this episode. And I can't wait to talk about that as well. Now, number 3 is getting Delos, or Logan even, to invest in Westworld. Now, this was before the events of season 1, like I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this video. This is Westworld, a few timelines. It gets a bit confusing, but this is also one of the most fascinating and attractive qualities of the show. Now, William and Logan, good to see those guys together again. Very briefly for William, because he kind of disappeared and this whole scene was about Logan anyway. They kind of said, Mr. Delos, we're with the Argos Initiative, and that was the name of the original company by Ford and Arnold. Before this investment from Logan's company, or, you know, Logan's father's company, Delos, who poured a lot of money into the park. But this scene was just brilliant in so many ways. Logan, as we saw in season 1, loved Westworld. He couldn't wait to show William all of the wonders it had to offer him. And this is where we see those lights in his eyes, well, light up. It was just absolutely fantastic. At the beginning, you can't really blame Logan for, you know, just not really wanting to listen to what they have to say. He was like, do you have any idea how many startups are begging me for money? AI, AR, VR. But that is when Angela said, you know, everyone is rushing to build the virtual world. We are offering something a little more tangible. He was just baffled by everyone there. He was just like, we're not here yet. I love that line, because he was like, how is this possible? We're not this far in the future yet. So absolutely fantastic scene. One of my most favorites. It gave a good backstory to how Delos, you know, began the investment into Westworld. So yeah, I definitely would love to know your thoughts on this scene, because it was definitely one of my favorites in the episode. Number 4, everybody, is a young William post season 1 trying to get James Delos, in case you forgot, who was Logan's father, to realize the potential in Westworld. When he said, my F up of a son invested in this place because of the future. I'm not interested in the future, not fantasy. I'm interested in reality. But that is when our young William, who's obviously, we've seen all the trials and tribulations he went through in season 1 of Westworld, honestly knows the true purpose and potential of Westworld. And he said, you know, I think in 20 years this will be the only reality that matters. And his kind of big pitch, and this was really interesting in how kind of conniving Delos is in what we know in kind of present-y kind of day, is that William said to James, this is the only place in the world where you will get to see people for who they really are. And if you don't see the business in that, then you're not the businessman I thought you were. So this matches in with what the Man in Black said to Lawrence 30 years in the future, you know, in one of the other timeline scenes we got, which I will talk about later. But this is all about essentially the business proposition that young William had to Logan's father about basically stealing kind of data from the guests, knowing exactly what they like, what they don't like. That is very valuable for what, you know, Delos can then use, you know, that information for future, for whatever kind of reason in marketing or whatever. I also just loved seeing more of young William in this scene. Change from the man, the kind of sweet, naive man we kind of saw in season 1 to I don't know, just a completely transformed person. It's almost hard to watch. I love it, but it's just so sad at the same time. And there was a few more scenes like that in this episode. And anyway, going back to the kind of Man in Black, this takes me to number 5, because the Man in Black comes back for Lawrence. Now, the Man in Black here, at the same time, I kind of spoke about this in my last episode, kind of reviewing top 7 key moments. He has a close call, but after that close call, he laughs and he loves it. Playing the real game again, real stakes, it's mad. And I just thought that was brilliant. I love seeing this older version of William, who just has, almost despite his age, so much more life put back into him. The Man in Black went on to say how, you know, why this world exists is because it's a place where the guests can hide from God, a place where they can sin in peace. But we were watching them. We were tallying up all of their sins, all of their choices. Of course, judgment, it wasn't the point. We had something else in mind entirely. And this goes back to what I was talking about just a second ago with young William. This is exactly what young William meant, and this is what he's been doing all these years, even though I don't think he believes in it anymore. I like how much they linked these different timelines back, as well as showing us new things like the investment of Delos, the first investment, to the links of young William as what I just mentioned to older William, and in this scene, it's just absolutely perfect. Number 6, everybody, is the retirement party, or better yet, the sound of fools fiddling. Freaking love that line. Good old Logan. Anyway, let's start at the beginning. William's daughter. We see William's daughter, Emily, say hi to Dolores, or just say that she's beautiful. That was cool. But when Dolores, or should I say William, saw Dolores, the look in his eyes, he was like, oh shit, you know, just because this is the woman he fell in love with, and, you know, we saw his wife. Anyway, important stuff in this scene. Logan's father, this kind of whole thing was kind of a retirement party. They discuss how Logan's father is stepping down, but the key words being he might not have to. What could this mean in terms of what William and his father, James, were kind of potentially planning in line with what I just spoke about, with how they could steal data from the guests? Could they also have been looking into the fact that you could be put into a host's body? Because he was blatantly ill. Some kind of condition that seems progressive, but William says, you know, things are progressing, but you kind of have to be patient. So I think maybe it's just replacement parts for human bodies, you know, really synthetic parts, which is also very futuristic, but now in this Westworld world, if that makes sense, maybe that is doable. Maybe they're searching for the, I have all these weird wacky theories, maybe they're searching for the kind of key to eternal life, humans being put in host bodies, who knows. But this kind of gets linked to what freaking Logan says in this scene as well. And I loved seeing a post season 1 Logan. I honestly didn't expect that. I really thought this was really cool. It's when Dolores steps out of that retirement party and we spot Logan doing some kind of, I don't know, shooting some drugs or something, some kind of modern drugs. But yeah, post season 1 Logan, didn't expect that. He said to Dolores, you know, that is the sound of fools fiddling while the whole species starts to burn. And the funniest part is that they lit the match. Now, is this a foreshadowing to the future for the revolt that we're getting now? The species of the human race is burning, and, you know, they lit the match, Delos, because they're the guys who invested and funded Westworld and made this all happen. Love all this poetic kind of linking. It is just fantastic, guys. I love it, I love it, I love it, and this is why I had to include it. Number 7 is definitely when Dolores meets with Maeve and Hector. This was really cool. Dolores was trying to recruit her. You know, and the thing is, Maeve is technically more overpowered than Dolores. But the thing about Maeve is that she's been scaled all the way up the line. Like, you know, she's been leveled up to the point where, you know, she can leave the park. She can seize all motor functions, I believe, in hosts. I think she would still have that ability despite them all being free. But either way, she's more interested in getting her daughter back than this revolution that Dolores is trying to recruit her for. I still think these two will come together. I think something bad might happen with the whole Maeve daughter situation. But right now, ain't nobody got time for that with Maeve. Number 8 is Dolores playing God, or is kind of the new god of Westworld. Kind of linking to what I just said about Maeve. She's kind of God as well. But this moment was very God complexy by Dolores. She gave a chance to these other hosts to recruit them, because obviously she needs an army for all those 600 to 800 people her and Teddy and a few others are against. So they need more than just 50 hosts to defend, you know, or revolt with. Now, I just loved how powerful Dolores was in this scene, because she offered them all a chance to join. They were being arrogant, you know. They kind of had a narrative. Dolores knew what was going to go on with their narrative, and, you know, ensured that they would succeed for once instead of always playing out the narrative. But the way to convince them to join was killing them, bringing them back, and saying, well look, see, you don't want to pray to God, you want to pray to me, if you know what I mean. So that was a badass scene. Now she's got them on their side, and, you know, that is kick-ass. Number 9 is the ride west with the Man in Black and Ford's role in season 2. Now, obviously, we saw the Man in Black and Lawrence arrive in Pariah, and we saw Elazo, who Lawrence has actually played when William was younger, if you remember back in season 1, you know, because some hosts swap roles. This was pretty cool. But they had fulfilled their narrative, I believe, and they were kind of, this is one of the hosts who didn't want to kind of continue his kind of freedom, like, or, you know, whatever he can do after this. So William went there to try and get help to go west to find this place, in return to give treasure beyond their wildest dreams, kind of thing. But this game, you know, wasn't meant for them. It was just meant for William. He was meant to play it alone. So ultimately, they all killed themselves. And this was through the voice of Robert Ford. Now, I really like this. Robert Ford, as much as we don't see him, if we do see him, it's kind of like a blurred face, younger kind of cover actor, double actor, you know, like we did at the beginning of the episode with Arnold. In this episode, we saw him speak through the programming, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, through Alonzo. Really cool scene. Loved seeing Robert poke through the cracks here, still beyond his death. I wonder what else Robert, you know, has in store for this game, because I think there's a lot he probably did before he died that's ensuring all of this happening, or some really smart way of it happening. I'm expecting some grand ass reveal. Now guys, number 10 is when young William, post season 1 again, we see him again waking up Dolores, and this was interesting. It's kind of like one of those Arnold scenes, or even a Ford scene, where it's like, wake up Dolores, and this scene just really described the pure complete change in William. Now, I know I briefly spoke about this earlier, but these lines really characterized that, because he said, you know, you really are just a thing. I really can't believe I fell in love with you. But he also says things like, you know, how he thanked her for what she did for him. He said, do you know what saved me? I realized it wasn't about you at all. You made me interested in me. And these lines led to the fact of what we saw William was building back in the day, which, you know, is fulfilled now. We go to the place where William was building this project, or, you know, it was in the middle of it. We saw like those machines completely destructing this area, getting room to create something. And this is also William's greatest mistake. It kind of goes back to what the man in black was saying. What if this is the place where you can kind of live as a host, or something, or where all the servers are? Because we've seen clips of this also, I believe, in the trailer for the whole of season 2. So this could be where all the data for guests are stored, but I seriously think there's a lot more to it than that. Now, I feel like William, sorry, should I say the man in black William, is kind of got to be not exactly a protagonist, but more of like an anti-hero of the season. So we obviously got to keep going back to the timelines, multiple timelines, but mainly the one I'm talking about now, where this William is building this project. But the key words going back to what the man in black said to Lawrence in that bar, with saying burning it all down, and that is where I think he's going to head to, because he doesn't want all of this, of whatever it is, to happen, and I feel like he's got to try and undo what he created many years ago. So that, in line with what he said in interviews, kind of is making the man in black, despite still kind of being himself, doing a good thing this season, and I can't wait to see all of this unfold. But other than that, guys, that is all my top 10 key moments of this episode. I hope I explained some of them well. I hope I described why I loved them so much. Let me know your top 10 moments of this episode, or the key moments, or the moments that you just thought were key in general. But apart from that, if you're brand new to this video, guys, why not subscribe for more Westworld videos just like this? I'll be doing a trailer breakdown after this as well. It should be up soon, or it may already be up by the time you're watching this video. I want to say thank you to each and every one of my patrons. They're appearing on the screen now. If you don't know what Patreon is, or you're curious, links at the top of my description. Check out some of the tiers. I really appreciate it, and I just want to say thank you once more to each and every one of you who support me. Other than that, guys, all the other links are in the description below. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.